No one expected Cleveland to wake up to a storyline like this. It didn't arrive with months of rumor, slow leaks, or a predictable buildup. It hit overnight, exploding across the NFL and dragging the entire league into the spotlight with it. A moment that was supposed to be routine suddenly became the most talked about twist of the season. Coaches, analysts, former players, even rival fan bases were caught off guard as something inside the Browns organization shifted in a way no one could ignore. Because this wasn't just another quarterback adjustment. This was a move that flipped the narrative on its head. It forced every critic to look twice and every supporter to wonder what was happening behind closed doors. The entire NFL could feel the energy change. The Browns, one of the league's most unpredictable franchises, had made a statement that felt bigger than a game plan. And standing in the center of that shockwave is a rookie quarterback carrying a name the entire country recognizes. Shedeur Sanders didn't walk into the NFL with the luxury of anonymity. He entered the league with expectation, pressure, and a legacy attached to him before he ever stepped on the field. He wasn't supposed to be here this early. He wasn't supposed to carry this much weight. Yet suddenly, the Browns placed everything on his shoulders. The atmosphere in Cleveland shifted instantly. Ticket sales spiked. Media coverage doubled. Coaches talked differently. Players prepared differently. Fans didn't just want answers, they demanded them. Because this move didn't feel random. It didn't feel like panic. It felt intentional. Why now? Why this sudden commitment? Why does the timing feel too sharp and too calculated? Something is happening within the Browns organization that isn't just about X's and O's. It's about control, belief, and the future of a franchise that's been searching for stability for decades. Whatever unfolds next will either become a turning point or one of those decisions fans talk about for years. Cleveland isn't just experimenting. They lit the fuse on a moment that could redefine everything. When the Browns named Shedeur Sanders the starter, it didn't land like a normal roster change. It felt like a shockwave that rattled through every layer of the franchise. On paper, it looked simple, a young quarterback stepping into the role after injuries and uncertainty. But the timing, the decisiveness, and the confidence behind the announcement made it clear. This move was about something much bigger than filling a spot on the depth chart. Most teams hesitate when a rookie struggles early. They go cautious. They protect the player. They delay the spotlight. Cleveland didn't do that. They didn't pause, test other options, or float the idea of competition. They handed Sanders the offense and didn't blink. The message wasn't subtle. They weren't treating him like a short-term backup. They were treating him like the guy. And that's what instantly changed the temperature across the league. What made the decision even more dramatic was the way it unfolded. It came quickly. It came boldly. It came at a moment when the safer option might have been playing it slow and waiting for the right conditions. Instead, the Browns went all in. Reports and rumors online suggested this wasn't just a reaction to injury, it was a shift in the building. A belief that Sanders wasn't just another quarterback on the roster, but someone worth betting the future on. Fans felt that energy. Analysts started digging for answers. Former players questioned whether this move came from the coaching staff, the front office, or something deeper inside the organization. Because this kind of decision doesn't happen quietly. It's the type that carries weight. The kind that says, we're not patching holes anymore, we're changing direction. You don't hand a rookie the keys to the franchise unless you're prepared for the consequences. And that's what makes this moment so electric. It wasn't cautious, it wasn't hesitant, it was decisive. The Browns didn't just pick a starter. They drew a line in the sand and dared the league to react. Shedeur's first official start didn't feel like the typical rookie introduction. It didn't come with low expectations or a slow build-up. It came with a stadium buzzing, a fan base holding its breath, and an entire city looking for a spark. And in that moment, Sanders didn't just show up. He delivered enough to change the narrative. The Browns walked off the field with a win, and for one night, it felt like the franchise finally found something steady in a season that had been defined by chaos. But this wasn't the kind of performance that ties a bow on the story or answers every question. It was more complicated than that. There were flashes of the talent people had been waiting to see. Confident throws, smart decisions, and moments where he looked like he belonged, in complete control of the offense. And just as important, there were mistakes, missed reads, early nerves, a few moments where the pressure found him before he found his rhythm. That's the part everyone had to take seriously. A single win doesn't erase the learning curve, and it doesn't guarantee the next chapter writes itself. Yet, the victory meant something bigger than a number in the standings. It was the moment the old narrative cracked. Fans who spent the entire season questioning the Browns' direction suddenly started asking a different question. What if this actually themselves like something had shifted? It wasn't the kind of reaction you get after a stopgap solution. It was the reaction of a team realizing that the rookie might have the poise and grit to grow into something more. Still, the league isn't built on one game. It rewards consistency, resilience, and the ability to rise again when the moment gets bigger and the pressure gets louder. Sanders showed he could handle the moment. Now, the question becomes whether he can build on it and whether the Browns are ready to keep riding the momentum instead of falling back into the same uncertainty they've lived in for years. One win changed the mood. The next few games will decide if it changes the future. Few rookies enter the NFL with the kind of spotlight Shedeur Sanders carried from the moment his name entered the draft conversation. He didn't arrive quietly. He didn't enter the league as a surprise riser or an overlooked gem. He entered with a legacy attached to him. Before he took a single snap, every analyst, fan, and scout had already formed an opinion of him, long before Cleveland ever called his name. Some believed he was the next big thing. Others weren't convinced he could live up to the expectations that came with being Deion Sanders' son. And that tension didn't disappear on draft night. It only got louder. Sanders' rise at Colorado turned into one of the biggest stories in college football. Every week brought another headline, another highlight, another flash of that rare combination of calm confidence and explosive ability. But with every spotlight moment came skepticism. Some critics claimed the offense was built around him. Others questioned the level of competition he faced. Even now, those opinions linger. Not because they're proven, but because the NFL has always been the proving ground, where hype meets reality. And Shedeur stepped into that reality fast. What people often forget is that hype doesn't guarantee anything at this level. A famous last name doesn't protect you. Media attention doesn't translate to wins. The league has seen players arrive with immense expectations, only to crack under the pressure. And just as many have entered with doubt hovering over them, only to silence every critic who questioned them. Sanders landed somewhere in the middle of those two narratives, admired for his talent, questioned for everything around it. But the most interesting part isn't the spotlight, it's how he responded to it. Sanders didn't shy away from the conversations. He didn't try to escape the attention or avoid the pressure. He embraced it, even in moments where the hits kept coming and the game moved faster. Than anything he faced in college, he showed something the hype alone can't account for: resilience. That's the part people inside locker rooms notice first. Not the highlight throws or the big-name pedigree, but the ability to stay calm when everything around you gets loud. The hype gave Sanders a platform, The reality gave him a test, and now he's standing in the middle of those two worlds, trying to prove to the league that he isn't here because of a name, a story, or a headline. He's here because he believes he can handle the pressure that comes with being the one the Browns chose to build around. Hype can get you drafted. Reality decides what happens next. Inside the Browns organization, there's a pressure that goes way deeper than schemes and depth charts. It isn't just about who starts on Sunday. It's about who controls the future of the franchise. And the decision to move forward with Shedeur Sanders became the moment where those internal forces finally surfed. From the outside, it might look like a football move. But the timing, the tone, and the way it was announced had many around the league wondering if there was something bigger driving it. Because here's the truth most fans don't see. When a franchise starts slipping, the pressure doesn't just fall on the players. It lands squarely on the people making the decisions. Coaches, executives, scouts, even the ownership group. Everyone suddenly becomes a target. Reports and whispers around the league suggested that the Browns hadn't been aligned on the quarterback plan for weeks. While none of it was confirmed, insiders have hinted that the front office wanted a spark, something fresh, something that showed the franchise wasn't content to suffer through another wasted season. And that kind of urgency creates tension. Kevin Stefanski now finds himself caught in the center of that tug of war. If the move pays off, he the moment and took the risk. If it collapses, he becomes the name attached to a decision that could push Cleveland into another spiral. That's the type of spotlight that changes careers. And it's the type of pressure that pushes organizations into bold choices instead of safe ones. At the same time, there's another layer to this story, one that almost never gets talked about out loud. The NFL isn't just about winning games. It's a business, a massive, relentless entertainment product that feeds on buzz, headlines, ticket sales, and national attention. And Sanders brings all of that with him. The sellouts, the media, the storylines, the possibility of something exciting. The moment he stepped onto the field for his first start, the energy around the Browns shifted in a way that executives dream about. So, when Cleveland doubled down and officially named Sanders, it didn't just look like a coaching decision. It felt like a franchise choosing a direction. Maybe it was about winning now. Maybe it was about building the future. Or maybe, like some analysts have suggested, it was about proving this team still has a reason to believe. Whatever the motivation was, one thing is obvious. This wasn't a move made cautiously or quietly. It was a statement, a signal that the Browns are ready to gamble on potential instead of clinging to the safe route. And once a franchise takes that leap, there's no going back. For most rookies, the hardest part of entering the NFL is adapting to the speed and physicality of the game. For Shedeur Sanders, that's only the surface. His biggest opponent isn't a team lined up across the field. It's the pressure that comes with being judged before he ever had a chance to prove himself. Story written about him. Every throw, because Sanders every decision isn't just another draft pick trying to survive in the league. He's a player who's been told his entire career that expectations come with his name. Every critic wants to be the first to say he wasn't ready. Every fan hopes he's the next big answer. And hanging between those two extremes is a quarterback trying to keep his focus steady, while the noise around him gets louder by the day. That's the part most people underestimate. The NFL doesn't punish players with a lack of talent. It punishes hesitation. It punishes doubt. One moment of uncertainty can change everything. Sanders has already faced that reality. He's heard the questions about his readiness, his draft slide, his first rough appearance, and whether the spotlight is too heavy. And as the new starter, he can't let that doubt take root. But pressure has never pushed Sanders backward. It's always been the thing that sharpens him. We saw it in college, when every mistake came with national attention. We saw it when he took hits and kept getting up. And now, we're seeing it as he steps into one of the biggest moments of his career. The challenge isn't whether he has the arm talent or the physical tools. It's whether he can stay composed when the stadium erupts and the moment demands clarity over fear. His greatest battle isn't just against the Raiders or a defensive scheme. It's against the part of every athlete that wonders if one mistake defines the future. If Sanders wins that mental fight, everything changes. The Browns aren't just choosing a quarterback, they're choosing a direction. That's what makes this moment feel so heavy for everyone inside the organization. When a franchise finds itself moving between hope and disappointment year after year, this become bigger than football. They become statements about what the team wants to be. And by handing the offense to Shedeur Sanders, Cleveland made it obvious. They're betting on potential instead of playing safe. Because one strong game from a young quarterback can do more than push a team up the standings. It can reshape the culture of the locker room. It can change how teammates talk, how they prepare, and how they respond when things get hard. And that shift is exactly what the Browns need after years of unstable quarterback play. If Sanders proves he can handle the moment, it gives the coaching staff something they've been missing for a long time: stability. Not a temporary fix, not a veteran placeholder, but someone the organization can actually build around. But the flip side is just as real. If the moment becomes too heavy or if the performance dips, Cleveland faces the same painful question that has haunted them. Who's really the quarterback of the future? One bad stretch, one rough game, one sign of hesitation could send the franchise right back into the cycle they've been trying to escape. The draft plans change. The roster construction changes. The entire trajectory changes. That's why this decision doesn't feel like an experiment. It feels like a gamble on the next era of Browns football. The coaches aren't the only ones watching. The fans are waiting. The front office is waiting. The entire league is waiting. Because if Sanders delivers, the Browns finally have a reason to believe again. If he stumbles, the franchise risks falling into the same uncertainty it has been fighting for years. The stakes aren't just high, they're defining. This isn't just about Sunday. It's about what comes after. As Sunday approaches, the anticipation around this moment keeps growing. Not because it's another game on the schedule. In trying to build, the hope, the frustration, the search for a long-term answer is suddenly converging on one player. Shedeur Sanders isn't just stepping into a starting role. He's stepping into a crossroads that could alter the direction of the entire franchise. And that's why this doesn't feel ordinary. It feels like the beginning of a new storyline or the final chapter in an old one. The NFL has a way of exposing the truth. It doesn't care about hype, draft projections, or how loudly analysts argue on TV. Once the whistle blows, there are no excuses left. There's only performance and how a quarterback responds when the pressure tightens. Maybe Sunday becomes the day Sanders proves he was worthy of the faith the Browns showed in him. Maybe it's the day Cleveland realizes they finally have a quarterback who brings stability instead of uncertainty. But there's another possibility. The moment could overwhelm him. The mistakes could pile up. The expectations could become too heavy. And just like that, the Browns are right back where they've been so many times before, searching instead of building. That's what makes this so captivating. It isn't guaranteed success. It isn't guaranteed failure. It's pure uncertainty wrapped in opportunity. What we do know is this: a decision like this can't be undone. The Browns didn't just tweak their lineup. They committed to a new direction, and the weight of that choice lands on Sanders the moment he steps onto the field. Whether this turns into a breakthrough or a setback, there's no turning back. Because sometimes a season doesn't change because of an injury, or a trade, or a lucky break. Sometimes it changes because a franchise decides to take a risk on the future instead of staying safe in the past. And now everyone, fans, players, coaches, rivals, is waiting to see which version of history